We have lots to discuss here in today's video, including all kinds of NHL trade talk as things are heating up around the league with a few teams, specifically the St. Louis Blues and the Nashville Predators. They're two teams we're watching closely. Lots of players on those teams getting attention around the league as players who could be moved later into the season. We also have some trade talk around the Maple Leafs and the situation with David Kampf, the Calgary Flames as well, possibly being able to move another high-profile forward should they wish to go down that road. We also have big news from the NHL waiver wire here today as well. Some updates as well from the upcoming GM meetings expected this week around the Hockey Hall of Fame weekend in Toronto. We also have lots of other injury updates and roster moves around the league as well. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. First up, we'll talk about some news from earlier in the day. We had news from the NHL waiver wire today that Primeau has been picked up on waivers, so he's no longer with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs lose Primeau on waivers back to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, there was some confusion around the rules and if the Hurricanes could put him directly back to the minor leagues or did they have to carry him on the NHL roster. That has been kind of cleared up here. So essentially how it works, normally there is like a 30-day rule around that, but it's the bigger factor here is the fact that the Canes were the only team to make a claim. So if another team would have tried to get him and they didn't because of the standings, because obviously right now until their 20-game mark of the season, they go by last season's standings for the order of the ranking order here for waiver pickups. So essentially, if another team would have tried to get him, they would have had no choice but to keep him on the roster. But because of the fact that didn't happen, they were able to send him directly to their AHL affiliate, since that's where he signed and started the year, and then obviously was lost on waivers to the Leafs. So basically, the Leafs borrowed him for about a month and then gave him back essentially. So Primeau had 3 games with the Leafs. I won 2 of them, but the stats were not great. And with Joseph Woll working his way back, it just kind of made sense. They had to make room. Now, Joseph Woll did do part of his conditioning stint today. I'm not sure if he's going to play any more with the Marlies. He was scheduled to only play 30 minutes of the game earlier today. He actually played about 36 minutes, and he let in 3 goals. So not a great result, but the team as a whole didn't play the greatest while he was in there. So we'll see. He's already back with the team. The Leafs are on a back-to-back this weekend. I don't imagine they're going to put him in tomorrow. That would be shocking. So at this point, Anthony Stolarz started the game tonight against the Bruins, but then he got pulled. It's the first time Stolarz with the Leafs was pulled due to performance, not because of injury. So Hildeby had to go in. So I don't know if they decided to pull Stolarz early to let him kind of get rested to play tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. But Joseph Woll started his conditioning stint. From a health standpoint, it went well. Didn't go the greatest with allowing some goals. But regardless of how he does, I suspect he's still going to be... they can only send him down for so long. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see where things go and when Joseph Woll will make his season debut for the Leafs. We also had some sad news today as well. We lost another member of the NHL alumni and longtime player and executive Mel Bridgman. Mel Bridgman at the fairly young age of 70. I was born in 1955. Got close to 1,000 games as a player. Played 977 games in total, putting up over 700 points between the Flyers, Flames, Devils, Red Wings, and Canucks. He was twice a team captain, a well-respected teammate. And then only 2 years after retiring as an active player, he became the very first ever general manager in Ottawa Senators history. After a couple of years in that role, the team decided to go in a new direction. But Bridgman certainly spent a lot of time around the game of hockey. Well-respected, like I said, both as a player and for what he does afterwards. So that's unfortunate news on his passing, so certainly want to offer our condolences to his friends, family, or anybody connected or close to him. A bunch of injury updates and roster moves around the NHL here today. We got a further update from the Florida Panthers. They have another player that's out long-term, so the injuries continue to pile up for the defending champs. Jonah Gadjevich is going to be out for approximately 3 months. He did need surgery, so he's looking at a long recovery. You're probably looking at about sometime in February. Given the Olympic break, I would say probably fair to say that 3-month recovery puts him right around that time frame, so it's probably going to be afterwards, to be my guess, but we'll see. The Carolina Hurricanes today did activate Eric Robertson and Will Carrier. Unfortunately, they also suffered another injury on the blue line with Jalen Chatfield getting hurt after a big hit, and he's out indefinitely. So Chatfield out, Gostisbehere still out, Robinson, Carrier back in. The Washington Capitals today returned Spencer Smallman back to the American Hockey League. The Calgary Flames announces Zane Parekh, of course, their young star rookie defenseman, is going to be out week to week. He took a hit from Nick Foligno last night. Nothing dirty or really out of the ordinary. Parekh just took a regular, simple body check, but just the way he got hit, it looked like he jammed up like an arm or wrist or elbow or something along those lines, and he's going to be out for a little while. They've recalled Danil Miromanov in his place to take his roster spot. The Seattle Kraken also activated Riker Evans, so he's ready to make his season debut after a preseason injury. They also announced Joey Daccord did not travel with them on their current road trip. He's being evaluated for an upper body injury. The Penguins also activated Kevin Hayes, who's also ready to make his season debut. Siplikov for the Islanders back into lineup for them tonight as they battle the New York Rangers, and McLean out of the lineup tonight for them. Of course, like I mentioned, we got the GM meetings coming up here early in the week after the Hockey Hall of Fame induction in Toronto, and a couple of things that they're expected to talk about. The big topic really being how to handle 19-year-olds. We know in the new CBA agreement that there was some talk about allowing 19-year-old players who normally would have to go to junior to be able to play in the American Hockey League. Well, that's not entirely the NHL's say. They do obviously have an agreement in place between the Canadian Junior Hockey League, the USHL, etc. So they are trying to work things out. So that's going to become a bigger topic with more players this year that are kind of falling into that category. So we'll see. There's also some talk. I know Elliotte Friedman on his podcast had mentioned, but the possibility that the USHL might end up getting merged or absorbed into the Canadian Junior Leagues as well. With all the changes with college hockey, obviously everybody's trying to stay on top of things and be relevant as possible, make sure they have the best system possible to attract the top players. And obviously they're going to be having some meetings coming up. I mean, the USHL is a very important feeder league too, and obviously they don't want to end up going under. I know there's some concerns about that, so there is some talk that they may end up getting merged in with Canadian junior hockey. So we'll have to wait and see where that goes. Now, a bunch of rumors we're going to take a look at. We'll start with the Leafs and David Kampf. Elliotte Friedman on the headline segment of Hockey Night in Canada tonight was talking about it a little bit further, and we talked about the possibility that they may find a trade for him. There's also the possibility we could see the contract that he has remaining terminated and become a free agent and can sign elsewhere. Well, according to Elliotte, one of the things complicating a potential contract termination is the fact that he had a signing bonus paid out this year, and there's obviously both the league and the PA are both involved here, and both, I'm sure, have different opinions, are kind of weighing in if should part of that signing bonus be paid back. If he's going to basically quit and have the contract terminated, they feel like maybe he shouldn't have received the full bonus because that's for a payment towards this whole season. If he's not going to be there, then is that really fair that he get to keep all that money? So I think a trade here would be more simple. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be, but obviously the fact that there's big debate over his signing bonus money now certainly does complicate things and wouldn't be shocking at all if things kind of drag on a little bit further. But they continue to try to find a trade for him, but that's what's complicating a potential contract termination as well, which is rather interesting to say the least. Now, as I mentioned as well, we're going to take a look at some other teams. Look at the Calgary Flames here briefly. Then we're going to get into the Predators and the Blues, who have a lot more players kind of in the rumor mill here. But Elliotte Friedman made mention of another big-time player with a big contract in his latest podcast, talking about Jonathan Huberdeau in Calgary, saying that the way he's been playing and with the cap rising the way it's expected to in the next number of years, that contract now suddenly isn't so bad and could become tradable now. I know when he first signed it and he had a lot of struggles early in Calgary, with the team not doing so well, he was not really a name that would really come up as a rumor to be traded because nobody thought that contract was movable. Now, we heard comments as well that we talked about yesterday that Calgary ownership doesn't really want to rebuild, and they really like some of these core players, and they may not want to move them, which I still find a little frustrating and confusing. I'm like, I understand you want to sell tickets and all that, but like, you're never going to get better if you can't move some of these assets that are going to bring you good returns and big hauls so you can gather the necessary younger assets to be able to make this team better in the future. I don't quite understand it. I know some teams are just so dead set against rebuilding, and I do understand, like, from a financial standpoint, they're worried they're not going to sell tickets if they're not as competitive, right? But at the same time, if you're in the mushy middle and you're never going to make playoffs, like, it's hard. Like, you're going to lose money that way too. So like, sometimes I think you just need to bite the bullet here. But Friedman says he's not 100% sure if they want to move Jonathan Huberdeau, but just the way that he's been playing a lot better. And with the rising cap, he's probably going to be a name that at least gets some attention. Some teams are going to probably check in on, wondering if that might be an option. So another name to watch for here throughout the year. Now, a couple of teams that we're going to probably see, and we've already heard a bunch of names in the rumor mill, St. Louis and Nashville. We'll start with Nashville first. Jeff Merrick made some interesting comments on one of his latest episodes of his show, talking about if Nashville does decide to go down the route of a rebuild, that another name that we haven't really talked about that should be is goaltender UC Saros. Now, obviously, they kind of doubled down here in the last year or two. Hasn't gone well. They brought in Stamkos. They brought in Brady Shea. They brought in Jonathan Marchessault. Right around that same time, they signed Saros to that big extension. They traded Askarov to San Jose. This was a team that was doubling down on their veterans, and they're not getting the job done to the point where the team's having any really sustainable level of success. So, Saros would be a guy that would bring in a big haul should they decide to go down that road, right? So it's not a name we're talking about. We've heard about Stamkos. The latest on Stamkos, I know from Darren Dreger at TSN, he was talking about Stamkos on a radio hit, saying that one thing about Steven Stamkos that a lot of people haven't thought about or really talked about is the fact that he lived a long time in Tampa, was there a long time, right? He was settled with his family. He didn't really want to leave, but he did because he had to. And is he want to uproot his family again after a short stint in Nashville? All indications are that from a personal standpoint and a family standpoint, that they really like Nashville and they're quite content where they are. So uprooting them and moving again would probably be difficult for the family. And as much as he wants, I'm sure, to have more success and, maybe find a better fit, is he going to want to put his family through that? And that's going to be a big part of this as well. So Stamkos would have to obviously be okay with everything from that standpoint to even consider things on that level. So again, we will kind of see where that goes. But I know Friedman's latest comments on Stamkos basically says that there's no big demand for a trade or anything like that. It's really just a matter of teams are going to be calling. They already have to some degree. And if they find an opportunity that they feel makes sense, then they're going to present it to him and he's going to have to decide what he wants to do. But another name to watch in Nashville too is Ryan O'Reilly. And after their last game, he, in the post-game interviews, completely roasted himself. Said that he's only ever had one good year in his career, which I assume is what he meant was when he won the Cup, and obviously won some hardware personally as well. He said, I can't even make a 6-foot pass right now. Just completely shredded himself. And Jeff Merrick had made a comment, and it's like, you know what? He's right. He said that the Ryan O'Reilly interview sounded an awful lot like we heard O'Reilly talk like back when he was a Sabre. I think it was one of them in 2018 when, he was traded shortly after. So like, is he getting to the point where he feels like, maybe I need to go? He's a respected veteran, a guy that, like I said, Barry Trotz isn't going to trade without talking to him. We had already heard his name linked to a few other teams before, mostly in the East. So we'll see. But Ryan O'Reilly just sounded completely dejected, roasted himself, and just makes you wonder if he's kind of getting to the point where he's had enough, right? So we'll see. And speaking of having enough, the St. Louis Blues, I know we'll talk about them now, and some comments from not only about Merrick, but Friedman as well. Jeff Merrick said that, with the Blues, he wonders if if the things don't really drastically improve. He said Doug Armstrong has made it clear he's open for business. Wonders if they could actually really go a deeper cleansing here. And not only, we heard a lot about Braden Shen lately, about Jordan Binnington, Justin Falk. We've heard about Pavel Buchnevich a little bit. Like, what level could we see for trades? Like, all those names are out there. And, makes you wonder. And Friedman mentioned about Kyrou. And, Kyrou was healthy scratched. He's back in the lineup tonight, scored a goal. But like he said, it just seems like Jordan Kyrou, whenever they run into tough times and whenever they feel like they need to make an example of somebody, it's always him. He's always the first guy that gets singled out. And he's just wondering if eventually, and if not now, that he's just going to have enough of that and be sick of it and be like, okay, why is it always me that gets singled out and has to be the guy that, be embarrassed here? So, that could lead to him wanting to waive his no-move clause and to go to another team too. We'll have to wait and see. Like, it's going to be interesting situation to watch in both Nashville and St. Louis because, like I said, there's a lot of players that are good players and will drive a lot of interest from other clubs. And it's just a matter of what they want to do. Like, we're not quite deep enough into the season where we see a lot of activity yet. So it's going to take some time. Teams are still kind of feeling things out, deciding what they need, what they want, what are they? Like, Florida's another team to watch as well. Like, they're not going to be content sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. And it's so jammed tight between top to bottom that you can be at the bottom and be at the top and a 2 or 3 game losing streak or winning streak, and you can completely flip-flop. So it's not like it's really that far gone for anything yet, but basically Bill Zito's not going to stand by and let that team, not get a chance to defend its back-to-back titles, right? They've got a lot of injuries, and they're going to have to try to navigate that as best they can, but it is certainly catching up to them. But they're hanging in there okay, considering, I think, what they are dealing with, in my opinion. But Nashville and St. Louis could be the two teams that have the most players getting the most attention, and there could be some super big deals out of those teams if they want to really shake things up. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.